Hello, and welcome to my Terrain Saga, Heroes of Utena, Minimum Recruitment, Loader Count Playthrough, Chapters 5 and 6. Chapter 5 is a route map, and is very unique in that the NPCs will engage the enemies on turn 1, when my army can barely reach some of them on turn 2. It is an indoor map, so my movement is limited. Most notably, Rafin has 6 movement, Renan, Kate and Julia have 5, and everyone else have 4. I need to get 3 events from the fights between the NPCs and the enemies on turn 1 for my strategy to work. To begin with, the first smash must attack the leftmost Shadow Rider and end up north or west of the boss. By doing so, the boss, who is fleeing on turn 1, will move 4 tiles down as it will look like the safest place for him. Secondly, the mage must hit most, if not all, of their attacks. The wind users have between 91 and 97% hit, while the fire one only has under 80%, so the chance of them connecting all their attacks is around 1 in 3. Finally, I must get an uncommon favorable event. It can be a crit, a dodge, or even a shadow mage attacking Marouge instead of one of the NPCs, but my strategy can't work if everything just goes as expected. For this attempt, it was a dodge from one of the winged mage. Speaking of Marouge, he is the first of the 3 green units who will join my army by virtue of being alive at the end of this chapter. Compared to the recruitable magic units, he has a low magical damage output, but magic users are strong in this game because most enemies have 0 resistance, so I will use him. I don't have much of the choice anyway, since I will only have 1 other magic user for most of the game. Out of the 3 recruitable green units, Marouge is the only one who could have been killed relatively fast, but still with a lot of random elements, since enemies tend to prioritize the other NPCs first. The reason why the boss thought he was safe was because my only units in range, Rafin and Kate, were unequipped. However, I can trade their weapon back to them, allowing me to engage him on turn 2. If the turn 2 enemy disposition made it mandatory, I could have gone for a double critical hit to escape. There is another recruitable character in this chapter, Zig. He isn't mandatory, but he will leave on his own later on, and he will allow me to force another unit to leave my army, which is the only reason why I am recruiting him. I save here, as there is a 50-50 chance the rest of the chapter will go as expected, and I don't want to take the risk. It's really fortunate that I am forced to recruit Zig, as he is an incredible mounted unit, whose only true downside is that he leaves my army after the first half of the game. Killing him would have required a Killer Lance critical hit from Rafin, making a 2 turns clear probably impossible. Once defeated, the boss will revive, but he will then leave the map instantly. Most of the time, Zig will be in javelin range of the Shadow Mage at full HP, who can be cleanly 1-round KO by him. The rest of this chapter is simply the NPCs connecting all their attacks, allowing me to complete this chapter in 2 turns. That's all for chapter 5, moving on to chapter 6. Chapter 6 is a boss kill map, and you can best engage the boss on turn 2 enemy phase with Martel. She can easily reach him by herself, so everyone else will be put on training duty. The number of enemies I can reach within these 2 turns is limited to 3 groups of 3 or less, so my units were deployed accordingly. Kryze is the perfect candidate to help Sasha's training, as he is weak enough to not kill the enemies, and he needs the experience points to get closer to level 10. Marouche is not using his personal Wundergust Tome, but instead the less accurate Wind Tome. This is because Wundergust is considered significantly stronger than Wind, and the amount of experience you gain from a fight highly depends on the power difference between the 2 units, weapons included. I believe it is a bad game design, as it basically always discourages the use of strong weapons, particularly when using weak units. Only Julia, Sasha and Naron will get level up this split, so I want them to be decent. If you visit the specific house in chapter 3 with Runan, Narcus and Mel will appear on turn 3, and Narcus will give a Pegasus flute to Mel. However, if Mel was killed in chapter 4, Narcus will instead give the Pegasus flute at the end of the chapter, regardless of the turn count. Since this is the only way to get this item and promote Sasha, Mel's death was inevitable. The 3 extra points of Mastery and Strange that Martel got on her level ups allow her to use the Killer Lance and to have enough Strange to kill the boss with 2 critical hits. Given how the true hit and crit formula works, it will give her a 2% chance to land a crit on boss attacks. I will obviously use the save staff to put this event in the second split. The only possible alternative would have been 2 critical hits with an S-Stock, for an abysmal 1 out of 2500 chance of success, which is the rarest event I got in my TAS of this game. That's all for chapter 6, completed in 2 turns. Thank you for watching and see you next time.